Something 4 days ago, Matteo fixed failed test. Yes, we merged some test failure fixes from Matteo, and there are some yet to be fixed. There is a discussion right now, and because I said we will do triage also, I will mention one of the triage items from last week. Orchard. Here, the thing we talked about is this thing, remove headers to information discovery. This PR is removing all the... So the issue is that, you see, headers being flagged as possible information discovery issues by security bots and whatever, saying, we know you are running ASP.NET version that, so it's bad for security. We know you are using Orchard, so it's bad for security. I think it's a wrong way to prevent these things, because the guys who care about specific version of ASP.NET MVC, specific version of Orchard, or the fact that it's running Orchard to hack a site, they are much more clever than that to find that it's using Orchard. Give me a website, I'm not looking at headers, I can tell you it's using Orchard. Give me a website, I'm not looking at headers, and I can find that it's using ASP.NET MVC. So I don't think it's a real way to prevent security issues. But this PR tries to remove it, and I'm fine with that, to be able to remove it. But I suggested that we don't do it by default, that we don't just remove the headers, but we at least provide a configuration option to remove those headers if you don't want them. But please keep them by default, at least for the Orchard one, because as I said, did I say that? Maybe on the issue, it's paying for my salary. So if we can't track how many Orchard websites we have, I can just not work on Orchard anymore. So that's important for me. And that's it. Just mentioning that because Matteo was working on that. Where was I? Here. And that's it for 110x. This is another one from Sipke. We saw that last time. Orchard core. What's happening? What's happening? So I assume we talked about it last week. Yes, we mentioned that here. No, maybe we didn't mention that. What is that? Remove the unnecessary class. Okay. New contribution, removing a class that we don't use. This is Jean-Thierry working on background tasks. This is a fix on YesSql that has been used in Orchard 2. The Isln operator, which was not working on the correct tables. It was working by chance because the index and the type were the same name, but then it didn't work for another one, so it's fixed. This is a branch. What is that? This is a branch on workflow because I'm reviewing workflow and I will show you what's happening in the workflow branch. This is Chris working on his caching branch. This is me fixing another issue with an issue with the SQL queries that were rendering in SQL Server bad SQL queries. The double quote is for special names and not strings. This is for strings, so this is fixed. Crap, did I remove this test? Oh no, this is this commit, because this commit added some tests which were unnecessary, and this one is removing a test because I actually tested here, which I didn't know. Jean-Thierry Alexander is doing things on the dev branch. No, on the Dependencies.AspNetCore branch. Is it? Is it the same branch, Antoine? This is dev. Where is Alexander? No, this is dev. Okay. Fixed error getting token. Oh, I assume Kevin merged that. Okay. So this is fixing the store for OpenID access controller .NET Core SDK 2.1.1.01. What? Okay, this is Travis and Aveyor changes to use the latest SDK, so it doesn't change us. Just the build, same thing. That's good. Well, an update on the update. Fixing SQL string formatting, this is the one I mentioned right before. This is Chris on his branch, this is me on my branch. Fixing home link in themes, so an issue was reported, I fixed it. The links on the home page were wrong because // it's just an HTML tag here. It's nothing, it's a liquid page, so it won't use the tag helper from Razor. So we need to do like the tag helper will do, which is format that piping to href, which will resolve the tilde. Fixing how images are injected in a body part, because it was using a wrong liquid tag in the minified version. You see, this was an old tag, this is a new tag. This is Chantry on his branch. Which one? Vagrant tasks, which is on the hosted service branch. This is me working on the workflow branch still, reviewing stuff. SimpleMDE also is doing changes. This is Antoine on his branch Dependencies.AspNetCore, who is updating all the dependencies with the new packages which have been released. So Antoine, before approving, I would just check with the guy who gave me the file initially, because maybe he's maintaining it by himself and we don't have to change it manually. Just want to check. I'm sure what you said is right, but I just want to check if there is a file that we can take as a source and just copy it when there is a new version. I will ask him, and this way we'll compare your version and his to see if we're missing anything. So workflow branch, and you see, for instance, in case there are things like this, I don't know if this is relevant, but if we are missing some of them, so this is different. Okay, that's it for the updates. Then demos.
It says been working on caching. So previously, you were able to cache shapes by adding a few attributes under the tag whenever you create a shape. So I think along the lines of cache ID and cache duration. So the idea here is that we're just taking it one step further, so that they're not specifically tied to shapes. You can create cache blocks if you'd like, and then you can cache those independently of each other. So what we've got here is a liquid page with several nested cache blocks. So everything's wrapped in this cache A. Inside there's cache A1 and cache A2, and inside cache A2 there's a cache block called cache A2A. Now each of these cache blocks has a different cache policy. So for example, this one, the cache duration is 5 minutes, but down here we have 1 second and we have 5 seconds in here. So what happens is the cache policy bubbles up through each cache block, which in theory should make the caching seamless. So this is the result of the markup.
Vary by.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
You changed it already?
No, I haven't had a chance to.
But it's there in the.
Oh, that's probably from when I was showing you earlier.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, it won't work, or is it a fake result?
It will work, but it'll just ignore that vary by.
Okay.
So this is the cache block here. So if I refresh this, oh, it doesn't work.
Boom. I won't say it, but told you.
I'm not sure why, 'cause it shouldn't care what the name of the parameters are.
I agree. But then you have no context. Maybe it was waiting for a context. No.
It doesn't care if it's not got a context.
Another issue then. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, it's this tag here that we added.
Oh, the new tag. Yes, the new tag. Okay.
So we've got the current time when they're cached. So we should see this record here update every 1 second. This one will update every 5 minutes, and this one will update every 5 seconds. Now, if you remember, those cache items were nested as well. We've added support for basically nested cache blocks, each with a different policy. So I'm refreshing there. Cache block A2 updates every second, cache block A2A every 5 seconds, and cache block A1 every 5 minutes. So that's about it as much as there's to demo, really. There's not really much that's visible right now. But you can also optionally vary these cache blocks by different what we call contexts. So you could create a different cache block for each user if you wanted to. And there's all sorts of contexts. So there's roles, users, routes, and that's extensible as well. So you can add to those. I think that's about it. There's not really very much that's visible at the moment to demo. It's all kind of behind the scenes.
Well, that's good that there is no much things to demo because it's simple, and that's the job.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. Nope.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I will demo. Let me. Oh, I should. Oh. I will demo the shape changes. So I've been working on the workflow branch from SimpleMDE to review it, and there were some changes I wanted to do, so I did them directly. And at some point I had some, I wanted him to use strongly typed shapes instead of the dynamic object, because he actually didn't know we could do that, and it was simple. So I started to do that, to change his code to use the strongly typed shapes, and by doing that I found a bug. So let me here. So I found a bug. Am I on the correct? I'm assuming I'm on the correct branch. 1 second. I'm on the correct branch. So I found a bug in the shapes because it was not using the correct type, or it was not applying the correct model to the type. That was an issue, and I started fixing it in the shapes base class. Let me show you where it is. I need to find workflows, which is here. So the shapes I changed is actually the ones for the shape helpers for the display, the drivers. So if I take this one, for instance, this is a base display driver that he made for workflow elements that will simplify display drivers, but they are just simple standard drivers. And in this case, you see the display is calling combine with a shape call. Okay, that's typical from Orchard 1 and Orchard Core. The new thing though is that here, what is new from last week is that you used to pass either a lambda or an object. If you passed a lambda and we wanted a strongly named, a strongly typed shape, the lambda will initialize an object from the type you will call here, like foo. The lambda will just initialize an instance of this foo. If you passed an object, it will take all the properties of the object and copy them to an instance of the foo class. Now what you can do is when you call shape, you have to pass an object which is implementing iShape. So you have to pass a shape. If you call shape, you have to pass a shape. And it happens that this class in the workflow module is an activity view model, Okay, but it's a shape because it will implement iShape. And it will implement iShape in this case by reusing the shape view model, which is a new base class. This base class is what used to be a mixin for the dynamic proxies that will be used for shape. So shape view model is a class that implements iShape, that has a shape metadata, like all iShape, that has a list of classes, attributes, and an ID. Okay, and the type is in the metadata. So that's a base shape class, which is not dynamic. It's a base iShape class. So now you can create you can use directly this class, the shape view model, of the type you want. Okay, sorry, the shape view model. Okay, first, this one inherits from shape view model to define a new shape view model with a custom type you can pass that will have an activity of the type you define. It's just for workflows, okay, for activities. So this way you can have a strongly typed view model for your shape that are based on activities, workflow activities, with a property strongly typed to the type of the activity you want to manage. Okay, this is a shape, and it has a property .activity that will be of the type you want. And this is done here in a base driver, an abstract driver, so that when you create a new activity in workflow, it's easier for you to create a display driver for this activity. That's just plumbing for workflow. What is interesting to know now is that there is a shape view model class that you can reuse as a base class for all your strongly typed view model that are shapes. So there is this one, and there is also the generic counterpart, shape view model of T, which inherit from shape view model, but will have a value property of the T that you pass. So it's the same thing as the activity view model, but the activity view model expected an activity and also called it activity. If you don't want to have it called value but something else, then you can also inherit from shape view model directly. But this one is available everywhere, and it implements iShape, so it can be used directly in a driver by calling shape and that. Okay, and you need to pass a model. So when you call shape here, what you can do is, well, you have to do is pass a shape. But before this change, shape was called to pass many things, and that's actually the issue I try to fix, because you could pass so many things, it was almost unusable, undiscoverable. You didn't know what the lambda was doing or what the object was doing, if it was copied or not. So what I did is I copied the pattern from the MVC controllers, and now there is shape. But like combine is combining shape, shape returns a shape, there are other methods to do specific things. So if I go to another one, and now I need to find one, let me see. If I go to body part, and I'm sure it's a bad example, display, and it's not a bad example, good. So body part on display doesn't return a call to shape, but a call to initialize. Initialize, that takes a type, body part view model. Body part view model is not a shape, it's just a POCO. Okay, so initialize will just take the class, create a shape class out of it by using a dynamic proxy, and you pass a lambda that will initialize this thing. So here we just want to return a shape that is a body part view model and will be initialized with this lambda. Okay, so now there is also initialize to initialize an object from a lambda. That's how I wanted to build the shape. If I take another one, which is contents metadata. Oh, sorry. Contents driver, display, contents driver. This one also uses shape and a custom content item view model, which is inheriting from shape view model and has a content item property. This way, in every view that manages content item, well, every shape template that wants a content item, we can use a content item view model and we have a content item property. Before this change, it was a dynamic object with a content item property which was not strongly typed, so we had to cast the content item to property to a content item class to be able to manipulate its objects. So that's easier for IntelliSense and also for performance, because there is no dynamic resolution of all the properties for this object. And I will go up at the definition of the shape method just to show you what we have now. So before, in this class, there were just shape methods with different overrides and async, and it was crazy mess. Now it's much clearer. So there is view, which lets you type a view model And what it will do, it will actually return a shape view model of your type. So this way, you pass an instance of what you want to return as the view, and will wrap it automatically in a shape view model. So that's, I think, in my opinion, the simplest one, to just return a view of this object, and the type here will be inferred. So if I look at the usage, combine view, so this is a shape type, and this is the thing that we want to give as the view model. And the shape will be a shape view model instance with a dot value equals to this thing of the correct type. So the model of this, if I look at the template itself, oh, that's super bad. I should have changed that. So this is using dynamic, but actually I should have changed that to a shape view model of that. Okay, and actually it's not using anything from the model, so that's why I assume there is no, it didn't break. Well, it should have worked, but we don't need model dynamic in this case. But that's the idea. And we have view, we have shape to return a shape, we have factory to pass a lambda that will create a shape dynamically based on the shape context, and we also use it somewhere. Where is that? This is maybe from the demo. No, this is, no, yeah. Nothing is using that right now, apparently. So factory, combine, that combines multiple calls to shape and dynamic and view. Copy, which will take an object and copy all its properties to a new dynamic object. Initialize, we saw it with a lambda, and I think that's it. That's all the methods we can use now. And that's much easier. And now when you call dynamic or copy or whatever, the parameter makes sense and the description explains what it does. So that's much easier to create drivers and to understand what it does. And it's also much faster because everything is strongly typed, no dynamic. So yeah, easier and faster. And builds, and when it builds, you're sure that you'll get something consistent. That's the change I made in the workflow, and that will impact everything else, but this PR reflects all the changes already, and I tried that. Questions? No questions, that's good. Comments, topics? Small review of the current PRs to see what's going on. From Antoine, Dynamic Hash, this is what Chris is working on and showed you. OpenID Connect client, I didn't look at it yet. This one huge PR from Kevin, and adds also the custom data protection providers. That will be compatible with multiple nodes. That will be nice. What else that's working? Also, this is Chantre working on his background task, and also more things related to that. And these ones I haven't reviewed so far. I'm working on workflows right now. That's why. That's it. Issues, not so many things interesting. Some IDs. I didn't check yesterday. Nothing interesting here. This one is to use a unique identifier internally instead of tenant names to prevent that the tenant name to be hijacked to for instance, to fake other tenants. Like if you get a tenant with a specific tenant name, you could create a new one, and then the cookie from the old one could be reused. So that's an edge case, but that's for security reasons. It's a nice ID. And I think that's it. That's all what is interesting in this case. Yep, and these are questions I will answer. That's it. No questions, no topic? All is good?
When do you think the next version of Orchard 1 will be released?
That's something that is asked every week, and the answer, I think, an issue file for Orchard 1 is, let me show you. Where is Benedek? Benedek is supposed to work on that. It was blocked by dynamic, I don't know, as soon as Benedek wants. So you can also ping Janos, who will say, hey Benedek, hurry up. We want Orchard 1.13 to be released. Benedek, where is the issue? Benedek updated it recently. Compilation. Oh, we need to update. Yeah. Start recently updated. Here, this one. That's what I think was blocking Benedek from being able to release, and it's supposed to be good now. So we'll wait for that. You can ping him here. Good? Okay.